For those of you that know the setting already, this is another experience that scared the absolute crap out of me. This did not happen to me firsthand, since it happened to one of my coworkers. But since that incident happened during my shift, I would fear to even go use the restroom alone. So just a recap on a setting. The local port has a radius of nearly 2 miles, and there are 3 overnight security guards on the shift, including me. We were all at the front gate post, and it's about the size of a trailer home. The front gate post is separated from everything else in the site. Buildings, slabs, offices, the oil rigs, everything. It's the entry point to the entire industrial park. The offices and restrooms are about walking distance from our post, and it's really dark since there wasn't really any illumination around. Around 2 a.m., the lieutenant walked out of the post to go use the restroom. The restrooms are deep in the center of the offices. The offices carry a very creepy vibe because they were constructed around the 1950s. So the wooden floorboards and walls were still the style there. About 7 minutes later, me and Mike look out of the post window to find our lieutenant sprinting back to the post. At first, we thought it was hilarious since he's a chubby dude, so we found it funny watching him run. Then a realization started to kick in. The lieutenant was the one who let out the fact that this site was haunted. He said that he's seen things and that it didn't really startle him that much anymore. We slowly began to imagine and wonder what the fuck he had seen or heard that scared the crap out of this guy. I mean, it must have been bad enough for him to be running back in a very hysterical manner. The lieutenant opens the door to the post that me and Mike are in, and we're both speechless and just staring at him while he catches his breath. After catching his breath, he tells us, "This is the last time that I will ever use the restrooms in the office building. I was taking a dump in the 3rd stall, and then I heard the restroom door swivel open. I thought it was one of you, so I simply ignored it. But the thing is, I did not hear any footsteps. I was listening to music, but I paused it to see if I could hear anything. A few seconds went by and nothing, and then I heard the water faucet go off by itself. Then, a few seconds later, the air dryer also went off. I finished my business and I ran back as fast as I could. Because I knew it wasn't either of you in there. The creepier part about this is that both the water faucet and the hand dryer are both motion activated. So in order for them to have gone off, something must have triggered it. Before this incident, I was already skeptical about using that restroom alone. I hated using the bathroom at work during my night shift because I was always anticipating for something creepy like this to happen to me. The worst part is when you're taking a dump, you're in a vulnerable position. Also, those restrooms are way too deep in the building, and it's pitch black inside. You would need a flashlight to go inside, and it's really quiet and creepy. I got a few more experiences while working here. I will post them on here hopefully later today. Hey, I want to start my first post off with a little bit about me, as it helps in context with the story. I'm 22 years old, working in the medical field. I'm a floater medical technician at the moment, which means I get a schedule every week going to different assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities, independent living facilities, all the living facilities that usually hold a majority of elderly people and help with vaccinations and general patient care involving meds all around my state. Sometimes I'm only 30 minutes from home, but I've driven 3 hours before, and most times they drag on long into the night. Being that I'm not really that picky, and I know how to handle myself, and money is money, I usually don't mind the drive. My parents would drive 4 hours to a location for a day trip, and that same day we would drive back. Nothing too crazy though. It can get a little tiring after working sick days in a row. Now that you know how I work, I guess I'll tell you about where I live. No names, but I'm basically in the foothills, or in mountains. Lots of back roads, lots of trees. I know, typical of scary stories. The middle of nowhere with spooky trees. But once again, I don't think much of it. I've lived around forests all my life. I see them as peaceful rather than scary. So I finish up this particular clinic at around 6 p.m. And as you know, if you live up north in the winter, it's dark by then. But once again, I'm thinking nothing of it. But even so, I'm tired and hungry and ready to go to bed. My team calls it a day, and I set up to take my hour and 45-minute drive home. The first 30 minutes I'm in town, then on a highway, so pretty nice, smooth sailing, listening to lo-fi music as per usual, using it as my decompress and meditative time. I keep driving. Then I notice a huge crash up ahead, like a 4 or 5 car pileup. Real nasty on this busy highway. So I take an exit off the highway, going to drive around it so I can get home and into my bed quicker, rather than sit and wait for them to clear a path from one of the lanes. Anyway, I start driving through this town that honestly looks like maybe 3 freaking people live in it. All the buildings are run down. The road is so messed up, it's awful. My car's poor tires and hydraulic system were begging for me to stop. So I had to slow down a lot as to not stress my car. It's dark and really old. But again, places like this exist. A town on its last breath. I've seen them more than a few times from living up and down the East Coast in less than shitty neighborhoods. I'm not going to judge, but I will note this place is just really, really empty. No cars, no lights, boarded up houses, just empty. I'm driving between 15 and 20 miles an hour. My bright's on so I can see. It's a clear night, so I have that going for me. As I'm driving past this big fire department overrun with bare trees, a loud thunk comes from the roof of my car. Great. I quickly pull over into the parking lot of the abandoned fire department. Wonderful, I'm thinking. Get sideswiped by a random dude at a rest stop and dent the top of my poor Orangeberry in one week. I open the door in a panic, expecting to see some tree branch denting my roof. But nope, nothing. Which is weird enough as is. I'm like, what the hell? I knew something hit my roof. So I go to check behind my car. Maybe it rolled off. Maybe it was a bird or a bat that fell then flew away. There are a lot of trees around here. I walk all around my car, look into the messed up road. Nothing. I chalk it up to the winged animal idea and climb back in my car, a little rattled, so it's silent as I get resituated. That's when I heard this ear-piercing shriek. I'm talking. Someone is screaming so loud, it sounds like their vocal cords could break. I lock my door and start getting back on the road. Calm down. I'm thinking bobcats are everywhere. You've heard what they sound like plenty. Like a woman crying bloody murder. It's just a bobcat. It's just a bobcat. My hands are shaking and I'm trying to drive out of there as fast as I can. Just a bobcat. Some kid's playing a prank, some homeless tweaker. My car was rattling back and forth as I got up to a comfortable 35 miles an hour. Of course, that's me, pushing it for my abused car. I'd make it up to him later with a nice wash. I drive another mile through this town, and I'm a few miles from the exit to the highway again. I'm mentally kicking myself for being so scared. Like a little pansy. I'm freaking out over some animals, I'm a mile away now, thanks to the helpful, yet very beat up and weathered signs. I'm calming down. Nothing crazy. Maybe it would be a good idea to play my lo-fi again as I paused that live stream one from YouTube when I got out of my car. Just as I reach for my phone in the passenger side seat, something rushes past my headlights. I scream and brake hard. I don't know why. It was yards away from me, in the very distant part of my headlights. All right, that's the final straw. I'm crying at this point, shaking so hard I can barely grip the wheel. Eyes blurry with tears. I don't care about the music anymore, and even though I'm still reminding myself, animals inhabit tree-dense abandoned towns all the time, this situation was still enough to get me crying. I keep driving, trying to focus on getting to that damn highway, but that's when I see it. If it's a human, then it's not like any human I've ever seen. On the side of the road, seeming to stand so politely on the sidewalk, as if waiting for me to pass so it could cross the street, was this tall thing. It had sunken facial features and looked naked. Loose skin, a lot of it. Sagging down, its legs and arms, piling at the wrists, ankles, and knees, around its neck, and hanging from its jaw. I saw it for half a second before I slammed my foot down on the gas. Sorry, Orangeberry, like I said, I'd make it up to you. I'm screaming obscenities now. My onslaught of emotions being too much. Goosebumps covered me from head to toe, tears rolling down my face, hands gripping my steering wheel so tight there's nail marks in it. I swerve onto the highway and recklessly into the other lane. I drive at 80 for a little bit, before eventually slowing down and pulling over to the side of the road to sob and call my dad. He picks up instantly, and when he hears my crying, he's all concerned, trying to get my story. I explain everything. I called it a man in some scary monster costume, and my dad instructed me to call the police, which I didn't really want to do. I was already a nervous wreck, having to explain it or even go back with someone. Absolutely a bad that. But my dad insisted, so I called the cops. I tell them I saw a man in the town back there, off the exit, in a costume. He scared me really bad. And after a few more questions, the cops said they'd check it out and sent me on my way. No, I can't be sure it wasn't a costume. No, I can't be sure it wasn't some weird outfit and bad lighting at night. No. I'm not saying all of these events were connected in some way. But what I am saying is, it all happened so quick it was hard to dismiss as nothing. And if this was a costume, it had to be a damn good costume, because it was hyper-realistic. And I saw every single fold and wrinkle and could even make out a couple blue veins. I don't even remember the name of the town. I haven't gotten a call back from the police about any updates. If there was anyone found with a costume on, stalking the side of the road in a beat-up town at 7 p.m., it happened about a month ago, and I'm better now. As long as I'm in my car, I'm safe. But I no longer feel safe being outside of my car at night. Not even the short walk from my front door to my driveway is safe anymore. I'll start shaking and panting if I'm outside in the dark alone for more than 5 seconds. I don't know who to tell or what to believe, but at the very least, I hope you guys found it entertaining. This is a true story. When I was younger, I lived out in the countryside of East Oklahoma with my mother and grandmother. From where we lived, it wasn't unusual to see nothing but dirt road for 10 miles around. During the fall in the evening, I was out in the woods exploring the many hills around my house. Being a curious kid and all, I walked about a mile or so away from home until I came across an old red house sitting at the bottom of the hill. There was an old white truck sitting in the driveway with what I remember looking like a burn pit. Not far away in the back. I was afraid of confrontation when I was younger, and it was going to get dark, so I decided I'm going to backtrack and just head back home. But just as I was walking away, I heard someone call, "Hey." It was a woman's voice, and I knew it was coming from the direction of the house. Thing is, there was no one outside. No one in the windows either. Not that I could see anyways. I didn't know if the voice was calling for me specifically, so I stood there and waited to see someone. No one showed, so I began walking away, but kept my eyes on the house. Just as it was disappearing from my view, I saw an older woman with black hair and a brown and red dress come outside from the front door. She looked up at me and smiled, then pointed her finger directly at me. I didn't want to engage, so I acted like I didn't see her and continued on. I kept walking until my house came back into view, then started down the small hill, all while thinking about what dinner would be. That's when I heard the same, "Hey," from before. It honestly sent a chill down my back. I thought the old woman had followed me all the way back home. I whipped around and scanned the trees, trying my best to spot someone. Instead, I only saw a large owl sitting in a tree about 10 feet off the ground. It didn't hoot or make any noise, just stared directly at me, almost intently. In my culture, owls are bad omens, And typically when you hear them, it means someone you know is going to die. So anxiety filling me from seeing this owl and hearing the woman's voice. I wasn't going to stick around in the woods any longer and began walking more hurriedly. "Where are you going?" I heard the voice call from the woods behind me. I wanted to run so badly. Something in me kept telling me not to run. Do not show you are afraid. In my head, I kept thinking it's the owl. The owl is talking to me. This isn't an owl. I go inside to my grandmother, who is in the kitchen reading a magazine. I tell her, "Gram, there was an owl outside." I think it was talking to me. I knew she could tell I was afraid. Her eyes looked like she knew something I didn't. "Where were you? And where is it now?" She asked, standing up, pulling the curtains closed. I was walking in the woods, and I saw a red house and an old lady. I pointed in the direction of where I went. "The owl is there. I'm scared, Graham." She followed my finger, then walked into the other room to get my mom. "It's her. I know it is Amber. She's been coming more and more," my grandmother whispered angrily. My mother came over to me and said, "Baby, show me where the owl is." My mother smiled, but I could tell she was angry, perhaps even scared. She took my hand and led me out the door. I didn't want to go back outside, but I trust my mother, so I went. "It was over there," I told her. She led me by the hand and gripped it tight. "Don't be afraid, Colty," she said. "Is that it?" At first, I didn't see what she was pointing at because at this time it was getting dark. But then I spotted it, the same huge owl. "That's it," I whispered, afraid it would hear me. My mother bent down and picked up a rock the size of a lemon. "Bitch, stay away from my son." My mother chunked the rock, hard. The owl, beginning to take off, got clipped in the wing by the rock, and I swear it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever heard. It made a screeching noise like a pig, then trailed off into what sounded exactly like a woman screaming. It flew off into dark of the woods, and without another word, my mom took my hand again and led me back into the house. That night, I heard bits and pieces of my mom's conversation with my grandmother. Stuff like, "She's evil. She killed her husband. And she's a stakini. She was following my grandbaby." And the final part I heard made me terrified of the woods. "She eats hearts." The next day, my mother told me we were going to town, but had to stop somewhere really quick to check something. So we load up into our small car and drive down the dirt road for a bit, and come up to a familiar sight. It was the red house. I thought, this is that old lady's house. I wonder why we are here. Then I began to scan the woods around us, looking for that owl. Not as afraid since it was daytime. My mother knocked on the door and waited for a minute before the same old woman came outside. The old woman wasn't smiling. Instead, she looked at my mother like she hated her. Then I saw her turn to me with those piercing eyes. I couldn't hear what my mom was saying, but while I tried to listen, my eyes looked down at something that wasn't there yesterday. The old woman's arm was wrapped up in a bandage and a makeshift sling. It was then that it all clicked. She was the owl. It was her voice calling to me. I put my face in my hands because I didn't want to see her. To me, this woman was a real-life monster. I heard her slam her door and my mom getting back in the car. "Sorry, baby. We'll go now." I looked up as we were driving off and thankfully didn't see her. "Mom, was she that owl?" I asked, feeling like I knew fully well the answer. My mother was silent for a bit. "Yes, she was," she said, sounding angry again. "That woman is our cousin." "Then why did you talk to her?" I asked. My mom looked at me for a split second and said, "'Cause of you." After that, she wouldn't answer any more of my questions regarding her and kept insisting that I drop it before she whoops my butt. Years later, I found out that the old lady's husband had died of a heart attack years prior. Soon after this all happened, she died, and I don't know how. Only my grandmother knew, and she's since passed as well. I still think about this sometimes, and how my grandmother's words still ring in my ears. That the owl lady who was following me that day eats hearts.